All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. So I'm very excited. I also do my little thing to remember I've had a recording versus not recording. Our little legal disclaimer, obviously, I'm not giving legal advice, but let's talk about unique benefits in the workplace, right? That's the thing that I think is driving a lot of what is happening right now. There are so many things that are happening, and I know as we head into 2025, we look back and we think to ourselves, oh my goodness, the last 4 years, right, is crazy to think about. COVID was 4 years ago, have been a whirlwind. And since then, we've had so many other things that have kind of impacted our workplace, right? We've had changes and we're going to have changes in the White House. We've had changes in legislation. We've had changes in Fair Labor Standards Act, Federal Department of Labor, and all of these things kind of come down to us. And you think to yourself, how can I keep up and still be competitive with the benefits? Well, we know that everyone is dealing with a tight labor market. And generally, I will say, sometimes the nonprofit sector struggles a little bit more because you don't necessarily have the funds to give like these high six-figure money to an employee, right? Your dollars need to go to the community you're servicing, the programs that you're offering, and whatever kind of specialty services that you're giving to the people that you're engaging with. So we know that we have tight labor markets. We know we have a work shortage. And of course, if anyone's been trying to hire, which I'm sure most of you have, we have skill gaps. So we have people coming out of college or people coming out of high school, or maybe even people that have spent a year in the professional setting that just don't necessarily have some of those professional skills that we sort of were seeing 5, 6, 10 years ago. So there's all of these struggles. And then, of course, that remote workforce thing that happened in the last 4 years due to COVID. So we need to figure out how to design benefits that fit our team that are cost effective and cost friendly. So there's a couple things that I'll go over, and then I do have a whole question slide where we can talk about that. And then I have like 4 or 5 slides after that that will be in the resource center that have a ton of different like companies that you could look into that offer some of these benefits either for low cost, no cost, or potentially could do some kind of other agreement because of your nonprofit status. But it's important when you start to survey the employees and what they need. Sometimes we go off and we think to ourselves, I know my employees need X. And realistically, maybe they don't, right? Like maybe you want to start offering a child or dependent care credit or a dependent care account. Well, if you have a team of 10 or 15 or 20 and only one of those people has a child that's in a setting that needs to have dependent care, you're not necessarily hitting the group that you're trying to target to keep them satisfied. So you want to survey the employees and understand their needs. You could do things like SurveyMonkey. You could do something as easy as sending out a quick, if you're on Teams, you can do different chats through there. You can send out a Word document. It doesn't have to be anything really fancy, but you want to ask the kind of things that they're looking for. And I break it down into 4 or 5 different main categories over the next few slides because we really have to tailor what we're doing to different generations. Some of the younger generations, maybe they don't have children at all, right? We're thinking about 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds, but they're thinking about other things, right? They're thinking about social economic climate. They're thinking about volunteer time. They're thinking about retirement because all they're hearing is about Social Security not being there. And then when you think about your baby boomers, those people are looking at things like maybe long-term care, right? Like, are they set up for success when they start aging and maybe won't necessarily be able to care for themselves? How are they managing the increasing cost of inflation and climate and the climate that they're dealing with? I see a lot of communication where people are like, the taxes, my home taxes are increasing year over year, and I'm on a fixed budget. I'm on Social Security. I'm on Medicare. How can I really continue to pay for these costs? So, how are we paying attention to these different generations in the workforce and meeting those different people where they are? So it's really easy to do this kind of survey, honestly. And I love ChatGPT. I'm not sure about anyone in here. If you're not sure about survey questions, jump on a ChatGPT for a free thing. Just say survey questions for benefits and satisfaction in my workforce. It'll give you all kinds of resources instantly for free, and you can send them out in a multitude of different ways. The first one that I want to talk about is health benefits. So if you offer health insurance, that's fantastic. If you don't and you're wondering how to do it, please do not try and do this on your own. Health insurance is incredibly confusing. And it's just, there's so much to it that is just not really, unfortunately, designed for the end user, whether that's the company or the employee. And that's just the unfortunate reality of it. But if you're offering health insurance, there are ways that you can increase the benefit and decrease the cost. And I know that sounds crazy because you're like, Toni, health insurance is probably the second most expensive thing to our payroll. I get it. There are things like health reimbursement arrangements. There are things like flexible spending accounts that you can pair up with very high deductibles, which are kind of becoming more standard. I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I started working in HR, we thought $2,000 on a deductible was high. Now I personally am on a $7,000 deductible. So we have significantly changed our perspective of health insurance over the last decade. And it's just because the cost and where that kind of lands on the employer. You know, you want to offer a benefit to your employees, but if it's costing them $200, $300, $400 a month, that can kind of gear them away from being able to pay for that specific expense. Also, as a New Hampshire company, we're not required by law unless we have more than 50 full-time equivalents to even offer health insurance. The small group market in the state of New Hampshire is so annoying, I'm not going to lie, because you're age banded, which means a 23-year-old is going to get a significantly cheaper cost than somebody who's in their 50s or 60s. And that can create a lot of confusion when you're trying to figure out, am I going to cover 50% of the benefit of the premium? Am I going to cover 60%? Well, 60% of 200 is a lot easier than 60% of 1200. So how are we kind of managing that cost? Offering high deductible health plans with HRAs gives the lower premium, helps you be able to kind of maintain that cost. And then those people that really need it, the people who are going to have that medical need, they're able to pull that from the HRA. So you don't have to be offering these super low deductibles for the just in case. You can offer a higher deductible for a lower premium and then pair it with that HRA for those just in case employees so that they feel more secure in that benefit plan. If you're like, Tony, I can't offer company health insurance, it's just too much for me. Check with your broker. If you don't have one, please reach out to the New Hampshire Center. I'm sure they have a ton of resources for you. There's a lot of members that I know are connected to brokers, but you could offer an ICRA or an independent coverage health reimbursement arrangement. What that is it's a way to set up a cost reimbursement to employees who are buying insurance through the market space. So maybe I want to be on a low deductible because I have children and I need to pay attention because they're in sports and they're always doing something, right? They're getting injured, they're at soccer, they're coming home, they're bruised, they're injured. I got to take them to urgent care every couple of weeks. Well, maybe I have another family who, an independent single solo person, no children, no dependents, and they're like, I'm healthy. I want a super high HSA deductible. I want to be able to put my money into health savings account. Well, you can offer, you can say, listen, I'm a nonprofit. I can budget probably $200 a month for each employee to offset some of the cost. Is it going to cover a huge portion? Maybe, depending on the coverage I pick. But what is it going to do? It's going to make it a little bit more standardized across the board. Everyone gets a pretty equitable benefit. And then they can use that money to pair towards a plan that matches for them. It's still something you can do as a tax write-off and all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit more to manage on the administrative side, I'll be very honest, but that's why you want to work with a broker who's really there to partner strongly with you. If you're offering health insurance, make sure you're promoting the telemedicine. So many people really forget that that's an option. COVID really helped because most people were not even able to get to the doctor, right? The doctor was like, if you even have a sniffle, don't even think about walking into our building. Well, we've shifted a little bit away from that. And that's a good and a bad thing, right? Like a good thing is we do want to see our providers in person. We need them to look at us and see us as a human being. But the other part is, if I have a sniffle, do I really need to go to the doctor? Or can I schedule it during my lunch break? Just go into my car or go somewhere else and have a conversation in private through telemedicine, not have to worry about the commute, not to have to worry about using paid time off or vacation time, and I can see a professional really quickly. Also, oftentimes telemedicine is significantly cheaper than a primary care visit or a specialist visit. So definitely reminding your team that they can use that. Virtual mental health support, if your company offers that through your health insurance, always be promoting that. We are seeing, and I mean, I'm telling you, in the last probably 2 months, if you haven't seen it too, I have seen an insane uptick in some mental health things that have been going on just because the uneasiness as we head into the new year, the new changeover and what's happening with our presidential election, whether you liked it or didn't like it, it's creating a little bit of unease. So how do we help those people with supporting their mental health? We don't want them missing work because they're so anxious or they're depressed or they're having other kind of mental health issues. Vision insurance, dental insurance, offer those if you can. Honestly, you don't have to even offer them as a cost from the employer. A lot of employers think to themselves, oh, if I offer this, I need to cover a percentage of it. Not necessarily. Dental and vision are such low cost systems that realistically, it's maybe $20 out of the employee's payroll every month, 30, 40 max if they're on a family plan. Dental, So cost effective. Vision, maybe $4. If you have people who have glasses, if you have people that have contacts, anything like that, I would say just check in with your broker and say, just add a vision plan. Add a vision plan for me. It's 100% voluntary. I guarantee you, you'll have people. Sometimes the benefits we need to offer just is the access to the coverage, right? We don't always have to do a cost share of some of these plans. We just need to be able to provide the access to our employees. So it's like I can't get necessarily a low cost vision plan out there on the market space, but if I can connect it through my employer, if you have 3 or more employees, I guarantee you have somebody who has somebody in their family who's going to need that vision care. I don't work for them, but I personally love Aflac. I use them for my critical, my hospital, my accident. It's a great way to pair benefits up, right? And it's so low cost. And the nice thing is about Aflac, and some other plans sometimes do it, not always, is it's age locked. So if I'm 23, I'm 30, I'm 40, whatever it is, when I buy that benefit plan, that accident, that critical illness, that hospital insurance, I'm locked in at that rate forever. My rate does not go up year over year like health insurance and dental insurance and all these other things. I pay the same fixed amount through payroll as anywhere else. And again, it's a voluntary benefit. You don't necessarily have to offer it at a cost share. So check in with some of those supplemental providers because they can also be offering things like life insurance for the employee, life insurance for a child, life insurance for a spouse. I mean, how many times have we been heartbroken because we see someone passed away and all of a sudden we're looking and they have a GoFundMe to cover the cost of them in order to be able to be taken care of and having, all that stuff managed. Let's try and see if we can just provide the access, because a lot of times providing just the access to a group plan, you don't have to worry about some of those pre-existing conditions. So that's a really helpful way to kind of offer that. We really are seeing a huge uptick on focusing on reproductive health insurance. And it's not just, access to abortion care, it's also access to family planning, travel benefits, IVF, menopause, postpartum, high risk. So making sure and seeing if your plan offers that. Massachusetts is a state that requires it. New Hampshire does not require this to be part of your health insurance as a good coverage. I'm going to be very honest, having this as a coverage item is going to increase the premium a little bit more, but we are seeing more and more people who are needing to access these services. So being able, especially as a female or somebody who's needing to access these reproductive protective rights, making sure that your health and coverage covers that. Next is retirement. The retirement benefits are, pretty standard. You have the retirement 401k, Roth, all that kind of stuff. Here's the cool thing. All this stuff you've probably heard about before, except there's some really cool new things that the Secure 2.0 Act has allowed to have happen. So here's one, for example. Let's say you have an employee who's paying student loans and they can't put an additional money into their 401k retirement plan. They're like, how can I do this, Tony? I'm paying $1,000 and that's not unreasonable. I've seen it. I'm paying $1,000 a month to pay back my student loan debt. I can't put 200, 300, 400 additional dollars, 3% of my income into my retirement account to get that match that I want. I get it. Here's the thing. Now what you can do is you can take that payment that they're paying to their school loans and you can match the percent that you're already matching for retirement into a retirement account for them. So they may not be getting the benefit of them being able to save for retirement, but they're able to get the company match so they are doing something to move towards that retirement goal. Additionally, a lot of plans, for example, many companies under 100 have a simple IRA plan that allows you to put money usually pre-tax aside. Well, now in a simple plan, you can also put Roth, which is post-tax money, which is a huge thing for some employees because they don't want to put pre-tax. Maybe they don't want that, pre-tax savings. They want to get that pre-tax, growth, but they want to put that post-tax money in and manage inflation over time. So there's a lot of different things. If you don't have somebody who specializes in retirement plans, please again connect with the Center for Nonprofit. You want a specialist who really knows what they're doing. And I will be very honest, if you find someone who says they're doing all of it, I've not seen it done well for all of it by one person ever. I usually find somebody who niches in these areas to really get the kind of knowledge that you're looking for. Of course, there's time away from work. So most things that we see, right, holiday leave, we are seeing an increase though. I'll be honest, the standard holiday leave that matches, the federal government's holidays usually fall to the Catholic or Christian religions. I'll be very honest. But we are seeing more companies try and be more flexible with other religious beliefs. You know what I mean? We have all sorts of other holidays that fall into play that employees want to take off. If I'm Jewish, I don't. What do I need Christmas off for? That's not a holiday for me, but maybe I would like to take a day or so off for Hanukkah or other kinds of major holidays. So paying attention to that and maybe being flexible, you could still standardize some of the holidays if you want, because maybe it's important to align with the federal government because a lot of the things are going to be closed anyway. But maybe if you have the kind of organization where an employee can work on Christmas because they can still be effective and get work done and shift for another day, that's a really nice thing to do. There's sabbatical leave. I've seen this kind of increase, honestly, to create longevity in time. So I'm normally seeing this at either the 5 or the 10-year mark of employment, which is really hard to get people to stay that long. But I'm seeing like significant time off. So sabbatical leave is usually an extended leave, more than a week. I've seen 2 to 4, where an employee just shuts down. They get paid leave it's kind of like it's on top of anything else to go and recharge, do something that they love, do something maybe that's related to the organization as a whole, but isn't necessarily driven by organizational work. So maybe you're like, hey, listen, we service this particular community. We want you to go and get recharged, go to other nonprofits, go to this stuff, and we're going to pay you, but recharge your batteries and learn different things. Or maybe you just want to go to Africa for 2 weeks and you want to lay down with the lions and hang out with the elephants. Whatever. Live your best life. We are seeing people extend bereavement leaves for extended families and pets. So I have seen pet bereavement come up, interestingly enough. But when I talk about extended families, we have so many different people now that are caretakers, right? So back in the day, you might think about, and I say back in the day, to me, like 15 years ago, bereavement was really to like that one degree of separation, that mom, that dad, that sibling, that spouse, that child. Well, now we have a lot more people in the workplace, and I'm sure some of the nonprofits on this call are supporting this community where there's grandparents, there's aunts, there's uncles, there's other guardians that are raising children due to all kinds of reasons, right? And so paying attention to that, because if I had my grandmother raise me because maybe my parent was struggling with a substance misuse, my grandmother passing away is like my mom passing away, right? So paying attention to that and being a little bit more with the inclusivity with the bereavement leave. Time off, of course, for social, environmental, or governance work. That's amazing. Of course, you want to get people to engage with your community and other communities. Volunteer time off. I'm sure you've heard of that. Additional parental leave. So we've been seeing parental leave increase not just for the birthing parent, but a non-birthing parent, whether it's a dad, same-sex couple, non-binary, all that kind of stuff. So additional parental leave, whether it's paid or unpaid, just allowing them that secure time to take off from work to care for a new child. Pregnancy loss leave. You don't always think about it, but if somebody's having a miscarriage or had something else, stillborn, something else, very sad and unfortunate, I might not necessarily be physically disabled to come back to work like I would if I had given birth to a healthy child that I need to recover from. But I need to recover. If anybody has experienced a loss of pregnancy or knows somebody, that's a grieving time, right? That's a time where, first of all, your body is going through some kind of medical thing, and usually there is a lot happening there, medical appointments, things like that. But it's also a time where you got to grieve. It's a bereavement also. So adding that kind of thing into your policy is really huge and covers again a group of people that might be underserviced, but just knowing that it's there. 1 in 4 women will struggle with some level of pregnancy loss. And so having that is really helpful as well. I've seen a lot of companies transition to unlimited PTO. I will caution you if you move towards this or if you already have it, make sure your policy really protects you for extended leaves of absences, right? Because you will have somebody who needs to go out because of a knee injury or a heart attack or something else. Make sure that you're not offering 6 to 12 months of fully paid coverage if you can't afford that in your budget. But let's figure out how we can do other kinds of ways of unlimited PTO. I do have just a quick slide because I know some people are like, well, Toni, like what is even standard in today's timeline? So just as high level numbers, the average American worker gets 11 days of paid vacation in the private sector. And then at 5 years, it increases, 10 years, it increases. They naturally get 8 sick days, 7.6 paid holidays. I don't know how we do a point. I'm assuming because they're taking half of maybe the day before Christmas and half of maybe the day before Thanksgiving. Who knows? Federal workers get 11, must be nice. And nearly a third, so 31% of employees, report mandatory paid time off as a top benefit. So if you're offering PTO and you're offering cash out, oftentimes I see people get really stressed in the sense that they maintain that vacation time so they can get almost like an extra week bonus in the last part of the year, right before their anniversary. Please encourage your employees to use vacation as vacation time, okay? Have a mandatory piece in there that says we require you to take at least 1 week of vacation a year. You have to disconnect, especially with most of the work that this particular community of nonprofit employers are doing. You are giving everything to the community that you're servicing, and that can be exhausting mentally, physically, emotionally. People need to recharge. So please, please, please try and encourage that. And I personally like to see people move away from that cash out bonus plan as a PTO. I don't think it's healthy for people to maintain it in order to get paid an extra week. I think they need to take that time, and a lot of times we don't necessarily give ourselves that self-care. Physical and mental well-being. Do we have well-being allowances? Maybe we can budget $100 a month for employees or $50 a month for employees to offset the cost to the gym, or offset the cost to yoga, or offset the cost to acupuncture, or physical PT, physical therapy, or a chiropractor. Some people are really including a lot of those things into their day-to-day maintenance, and into their physical care, of preventative maintenance. I go to the chiropractor every single week. I've done it for 7+ years. I was in a car accident. It's been life-changing, but it's not a cheap expense. So sometimes a well-being allowance for an employee could just help make it a little bit easier for them to access these resources. Hobby allowances, people are probably like, what the heck is that, Toni? Um, you want people to do things outside of work that give them passion as well, right? Like maybe I'm a knitter, maybe I'm a sewer, maybe I'm a runner, maybe I do other things, maybe I bake, maybe I'm a crafter. Being able to provide some of these things to offset the cost overall to the employee is helpful. Some people think, well, why don't I just give them more money per payroll or per week or per hour? Here's the thing, most of us have a problem doing putting money towards self-care, putting money towards something that we're enjoying. If you get a little bit more money, that's going to go somewhere else, right? Automatically, you're going to come up with an excuse of why that has to go to another bill or somewhere else. And then we're just running, running, running into burnout year over year over year, and it's going to increase over time. If you still have people coming into the office, everybody loves free food. I don't care how many memes I see about people that are aggravated about the office pizza party. People love free food. Okay. Should it be the only thing that you're doing to thank them? No. But is it going to be something they appreciate? Absolutely. Especially the people who brought lunch and they're like, I don't want to eat my eggplant salad. Okay. I want to eat the cheesy, delicious pizza. So lunches, snacks, meal allowances, huge thing. On-site massages, chair massages, that's a thing. You can connect with a local masseuse. They can bring in a chair massage, little 10-minute chair massages. It's actually not that expensive, if you think about it. For a day, to everyone to get like a 10-15 minute massage if they're interested. Huge benefit. I've seen people add that to like part of their quarterly management. Employee discounts. If you're able to connect with small businesses, we work with a business up in Concord, a big corporate building. Right outside the building, there's a little coffee kiosk, and they asked, they're like, "Hey, if I send my employees down, they show you their little ID card. Could you give them a discount?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll give them 5%." That's a benefit for him because now instead of going maybe to a Starbucks or another coffee place, they're going to him, and it's a benefit to the employees because they're like, "Hey, 5%. 5% is 5%, guys. Inflation went up 5%. We're feeling it. So a little bit of here and there is going to be great." Standing desks, walking desks. Many of us are sitting. How can we, if we're going to invest in more desks, maybe we invest in a standing desk. Maybe we invest in a walking desk. Obviously we have to be conscientious of people who maybe don't have the ability to stand all day and can't necessarily walk all day. But if there's those people that want to kind of maintain a little bit more of their activity in their lifestyle instead of being sedentary at work, can we meet those needs? Is the cost that much greater if we have to buy a new desk anyway? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Pet-friendly workplaces. I love this, but also be careful. You want to put some kind of stipulation that the pet-friendly workplace is that the pet is also friendly. Make sure that your pet isn't like biting people because that is a workers' comp problem. Just had to deal with it a couple weeks ago. And if the dog does start biting people, please don't let the dog back into the workplace. So pay attention to that. And then concierge perks, reaching out to places like tickets and things like that. Financial literacy, this is my last slide before talking about implementation of these plans. So financial literacy is huge. We see think about it, everybody is struggling. Everybody is dealing with budget issues. Everybody's dealing with trying to figure out how to cut costs, how to manage credit card debt, how to manage school debt, how to manage the increasing cost of living and housing. So there's all kinds of stuff that we can maybe help out with. So financial literacy programs, connecting with your 401k provider, your retirement plan provider, and asking for them to come in and do free programs, free lunch and learns. Just education sometimes is really important to access. Connecting with a mortgage lender and having them come in and meet with different people. Sometimes all it takes is working with a mortgage lender for a year for some of those people to say, wow, I was able to really get on a plan and figure out how to put a certain dollar amount away to build up that down payment or work on my credit. A lot of mortgage lenders will work with you for the timeline to try and help you get to the place to be able to buy that house. And then, of course, stipends, right? Money back, non-taxable money back into the employee's pocket. So student loan assistance, free subsidies for sports tickets, commuter. If you're in the Manchester area, there is a way to engage with the Manchester Transit Authority, the buses, for a discounted price as a corporate user. Grocery stipends, elder care, phone and technology reimbursements. So there's all kinds of ways we can give a little bit of money back to everybody if we pay attention to who needs what. So how do we implement these plans? Toni, you've given me a bunch of stuff. I have no idea where to start. Okay, think slow, do your survey. Do your survey and ask what the employees need first before you go off and say, I'm going to add all of these plans. Don't add stuff that doesn't make sense, okay? And don't add too many things at once. I always say it's easier to give than to take away. So build something small. I personally, when I'm working with a company, I like to add one new benefit if I can a year. It's very manageable and it's easy to educate on, and it doesn't overwhelm me when I'm trying to inform the employees of something new. And it's something that every year we can say, look at us, we've grown over time. So create a launch plan. Check and see, does it make sense to launch with your annual health insurance renewal if you have it? Does it launch with your fiscal year? Does it launch with a January 1st year? Are you thinking to yourself, I can't do it at any of those times, Toni. I have financial reports and all these other things. I need to do it on February 3rd. Great. That's the day you're going to launch it. There is no wrong way to make this happen. Okay. Roll out the new benefits in a way that excites employees. Tell people we're working on something new. We are asking for your information on this survey because we have a plan. We want to make it a more benefits in the workplace accessible to you. Train managers and HR staff on the new benefits. Maybe it's just quick lunch and learn videos. Maybe it's quick emails. Maybe it's a dashboard. Maybe it's using your payroll platform. Whatever it is. Streamline the enrollment if you can. Some of us can't. Paper is the way to go, and that's okay. But some of us can, and if you can, obviously, easier enrollment helpful. Provide FAQs and facts, gather feedback on the satisfaction of how these work, and don't be afraid to make adjustments in real time. Maybe you rolled out a plan that you thought was going to be good this year, and nobody's using it. Okay, well, check with the people who are. Are they using it and they're going to be devastated if it goes away, or would they be happier if those funds go to something else? So implement something that's going to make sense. Don't overwhelm yourself. Here's some key takeaways. Competition for the skilled workforce is fierce. So figuring out how to make some of these benefits accessible is really important. Not necessarily or any of the things that I've said have to cost the company money. Some of it is just giving access to the employee. If the employee can go and buy coffee for 5% cheaper, the employer does nothing. You do nothing except educate them of that coffee kiosk, okay? Huge education benefit when you tell the employees about the access to the things. Employees are looking for more than just health insurance and vacation time. That's sort of becoming more of the standard at large anywhere, okay? No matter what size. If you could offer any kind of hybrid workforce, that's great. If you can't, just educate people as to why. I am seeing a greater increase, quite honestly, in people wanting to return to the in-office or at least some kind of hybrid workforce. And then benefit plans need to match your company culture, okay? So for example, like Catholic Medical Center is not going to care about making sure that there's, abortion access. That wouldn't make sense to that. So make sure that there's access and information on whatever you're doing for your culture. Okay, that is really important. You have to match your values and your culture to what you're offering. Offer a benefit that obviously covers a wide range of employee needs, and then communicate year round. I will tell you right now, and this is it before I go to questions. The AI I know is coming, and I do all kinds of stuff on AI. But here's the thing: if you're like Toni, I can't come up with I'm not crafty, I'm not markety, I can't come up with a cute, kitschy way to tell people of our new pet bereavement plan. Don't have to come up with it on your own. Go into ChatGPT or whatever open AI that there is and say, I need a fun email to encourage my employees about the benefits of pet bereavement that we're launching on January 1st. Include some funny texts and puns about pets. It's going to give you an entire email. If you ask for an email series, it will give you 3 emails. You do not have to spend your time coming up with ways to market this stuff. Leverage AI to make yourself more effective and give yourself the access and the information needed to launch some of these programs without taking away from the core focus of the other things that you need to do in your day, because you're probably wearing, I don't know, 4 or 5 different hats. So give yourself a little bit of grace and start with the survey, and then once you get to where you're going to launch, leverage the AI to do some of the more crafty marketing stuff for you to your staff.